Um, Let me introduce to you the latest addition to the faculty of the college, Miss Alia Zama. She will teach political science in St. Stephen's College. So we welcome Alia to our midst. I'm inclined to believe that there is something very special about Alia, because in the entire history of St. Stephen's College, which is now 134 years old, no one has ever been interviewed and appointed on a Sunday. She was interviewed in the afternoon yesterday and appointed. So I mentioned this in order to underline the fact, Alia, that you have a very special responsibility to enter into the soul of the college and to give your very best to it, which I am sure you will. All right. Now, in the remaining time, let's begin to think, because the assembly is all about thinking. You agree? It's all about thinking. We're learning to think because the age in which we are living is not a thinking age. And this is not what I'm saying. This is what philosophers have said. This is an age of willing. So what you see all around you is a clash of wills. You know, Samuel Huntington's book, The Clash of Civilizations, is nothing but a clash of collective wills. History is being restructured. International relationships are being reconfigured on the principle of willing. What is the exclusive right of a superpower? The right to impose its will on others, not its thinking on others. Thinking doesn't matter anymore. But the moment we renounce the right and the duty to think, we cease to be human beings. That's a seriousness that I attach to the experience of the assembly, wherein we try to cultivate the art of thinking, right? So you must develop. The value of the assembly is not so much in the specific insights that I provide or you yourself acquire through your lateral thinking. The value is in cultivating a discipline of thinking for yourself. So that's why we resume our process of the assembly with great enthusiasm. Because this is, to me, the quintessential part of being Stephanian, the ability to think. Think rationally, think humanely, think profoundly, think deeply. In the text that you heard today, there was a beautiful expression. That's not my main theme, but I'll just draw your attention to this. The expression is this, and it's something that has fascinated me for now decades. It says, the deep calls to the deep. The deep calls to the deep. Now, I consider that to be a good description of human conversation. Our conversation must be the deep responding to the deep, as against the noises that exist on the surface of things. A superficial culture cannot have conversation. A superficial culture can only produce noise. That's why we are today suffering from noise pollution. That's why it's become worthless, not worth our while to listen to people. Because when they speak, we know that there is no depth in them. And because there is no depth in them, they cannot move the depth in us. And we are happy only when our depth is stirred. You understand? And that's the kind of development we need to aim at. Particularly in an age and in a culture which thrives by the cult of superficiality. It has become the most imperative duty to become men and women of depth so that we can quicken the depth in others. Okay, so that's the kind of preface, as it were. Now, I want to draw your attention to the very first sentence, the opening sentence. You would have noticed that in this text there is no name for a God, right? There's no name at all. So don't worry about which religion, it doesn't matter. Now, the opening sentence is, as the heart, H-A-R-T, okay? As the heart pants after the brook, after the water sources, after the water bodies. As the deer in the forest pants after, longs for. In fact, you can't really substitute the word panting after. It's such a fantastic expression. As the deer in the forest pants after the water brooks, so does my soul long for you, O God. Now, I'm going to completely desacralize this text. I'm going to take it out of the religious context completely. Because we are not a religious community, we are an academic community. So I will now begin to reflect with you on these words from an academic perspective. See, it doesn't matter from which source you take things. What matters is the use to which you put these things. All right? Now, what does it mean? Now, let me give you an illustration. Somebody once asked Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, the guru, the mentor of the great Indian thinker, sage, Swami Vivekananda, whose writings I have read with great interest, I must say, as to how one should relate to God. He took him to a pond nearby, pushed him down, kept him down, and he started gasping for breath. Then he allowed him to surface, and he said, that's how you must feel for God. You must gasp for God, says Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. This is another expression of the same thing. As the heart pants after the brook, so does my soul long for you, O God. Now, okay. Now, what it actually means is that we should be capable of, and attend very carefully, we should be capable of extreme enthusiasm for the right things. We should be passionate about things. As against this, we drift through life. Or to use an expression that I used last year was a long time ago, no? We sleepwalk through life. The mark of a good student is the capacity for this sublime enthusiasm. And I must say this to you, having seen a bit of life, that being passionate, being enthusiastic, even being reckless, to use a bad word, is a fundamental human need. If you are human, you cannot but be passionate. So that's not the option. The option is what you are passionate about. Some people are very passionate about plotting, hurting others, There is a parable created by a Jordanian poet, Khalil Gibran. He says, I'm a madman and I walked around and I came across a scarecrow. You know what a scarecrow is? Simulacrum is a more pedantic word for it. Scarecrow. To scare away crows. Scarecrow. Okay, in my present outfit, I'll do a good job. Right? So I went to the scarecrow and said, are you not tired of standing here for so long in this lonely place? Follow every word. And the scarecrow replied, no, scaring is a very satisfying thing, and it gives me happiness for long. Therefore, I don't mind standing here forever. I never grow tired of it. This is a reply. Then the madman stops and thinks and he says, yes, that's right. I too have experienced this joy of scaring others. Once in a while. And the scarecrow replies, you must be a man stuffed with straw inside to admit it. And then the madman says, well, I moved away from the scarecrow wondering whether the scarecrow paid me a compliment or belittled me, insulted me. Anyway, 1 year passed. In the meanwhile, the scarecrow became a philosopher. And the madman comes back again. And he finds that underneath the hat of the scarecrow, 2 crows were building their nests. I'll stop the parable there. What I'm saying is, some people are passionate about scaring others. You would have seen it. Right? For example, those who pursue violence will pursue violence with immense enthusiasm. And one proof of the enthusiasm is that no moral inhibition will be allowed to stand in the way. You see all these things. I don't know if you reflect on these things. That's the only issue. Haven't you wondered how a human being can hurt a fellow human being? It's a riddle that I have not been able to unpack. How can you shed the blood of a fellow human being? I just don't understand this. It can happen only in extreme states of almost monomaniacal passion. You know, the great French thinker Voltaire once said, no man is a more cheerful killer than the one who thinks he is killing for the sake of his God. You understand? You understand? No man, and I'm quoting exactly the words, no man is a more cheerful killer. The most operative expression is cheerful killer. No man is a more cheerful killer than the one who kills for the sake of his God. In the history of all religions, this madness has happened. The attachment of extreme passion to a diabolic project. Man has a need to be passionate. You know, people fall in love. Why? By the way, how many of you are in love? You find it funny? Nobody is in love? Ashutosh, you have to do something about it. Because Sanskrit literature is full of love. Huh? So I'm going to enlarge the Sanskrit department, and everybody will be required to study the plays by Kalidasa. Huh? Meghadoot, for example. Meghadoot was the counterpart in those days of SMS. Huh? Okay? Huh. Anyway, that's not my theme. So, there is a need to be passionate. Time is up. There's also a need to end on time. Okay. Anyway, we'll continue our thinking. Yeah, you think about this. Now, the question I want to leave with you is this. What are you passionate about? Okay? Tomorrow when we meet, some of you can come and make your confessions. Huh? What am I passionate about? Okay? How many of you would like to speak? Just 1 minute each. What am I passionate about? You're not passionate about anything. You are not in love. You are not passionate. Then what are you? अच्छा नहीं लगता. ये कैसे हो सकता है? ठीक है, रात पर सोचिए, बिस्तर में करवट लीजिए, दिमाग की बत्ती जलाइए. Huh? And in the morning or by the time we assemble, if you want to say something, approach Dr. Anish Abraham. Right? Okay, let's rise for prayer.